Everybody had a good lunch. I know, like, after I eat lunch, I kind of hit that slump where I try to fall asleep. So I'll try to be as entertaining enough to keep you from dozing off back there. But anyways, today's topic is avoiding burnout. Sometimes it pays to be the hare. So I'm going to ask you guys a little favor. I want you to put your kid hat on for about roughly 8 minutes. We're going to watch a quick cartoon, if that's okay with everybody. All right? Let's see if I can find my... There we go. All right, so, we're taught growing up, yay, the tortoise won the race. Like, he stuck in there, he did it, he made it, and, we all, look down on the hare because he just messed around and then wound up, losing a race he should have definitely won. I kind of like to look at it a little bit different, right? So obviously we don't want to treat others the way the hare was treating, the tortoise and everything. But, if you look at that guy, he looked super happy, right? he was happy the whole race. He was sleeping. He was playing games. He was hanging out with friends. And at the end of the race, he still wasn't that far off from the tortoise, right? So who would you rather be? Would you rather be the guy that's just chugging along, working your tail end off, not having any time to play games or have fun? Or would you rather be like the hare? So I think, you might want to consider being a hare. So we're going to talk about that today. So on one side we have the tortoises. They move slow and steady. Just like I said, just kind of trudge through the day. Is there anybody in here that can kind of identify with that? Yeah, right? I've been doing this a long time. I've definitely had periods where, I'm dreading each and every day. I don't even want to, go into work. You may find yourself staring at a screen, not really knowing where to move forward. And then the biggest clue there is you've adopted so as your mantra, your life mantra. And that just basically means all you're doing is sleeping, eating, and working, and then repeating that again and again, day after day. So on the other side, we've got the hare. And the hare is going to sprint as far enough until he has time to take a break. And so how would you like to work more productively in shorter sprints than trying to do it throughout the whole day? Would you like to experience actual work-life balance? And would you like to ditch so and adopt DEV as your life mantra? And when I say DEV, I mean dare to experience vitality. I don't know about you guys, but to me, being a dev sounds much better than sewing, right? I don't think many of you in here are seamstresses. You're just devs that aren't yet deving. So we're gonna take a look at that. So I want you to meet my friend here, Hare. This guy works over at Acme Sites Incorporated. I bring up Henry because his coworkers, they reached out to me. They were concerned because he just hadn't been himself lately. He's calling in sick to work all the time. He's late to meetings. He's snappy with those around him. He's just not the rock star dev that everyone is used to him being. Doesn't he look perplexed to you guys? He looks like, I don't know, something's weighing heavy on him. So I like the guy and I wanted to help him. So instead of just focusing on Henry, I just sat down with his coworkers and I said, we need to build a community of people who can spot these signs early and kind of intervene without having to wait till somebody gets in Henry's position here, where they're just, for lack of a better term, they're burned out. So, burnout. What you talking about, Willis? Some of you here, you may have never thought about burnout, or you may never have known anyone that's burned out before, but it's a real thing. If you've never had it happen to you, either you hadn't been doing this very long or you're a super dev. And let's face it, who in here is really faster than a speeding user requirement, or stronger than a blocked firewall port, or can leap higher than any cloud-based virtual machine? I mean, I sure can't, so I don't know. I think Kenneth Wright's hit it on the head. He said, it happens to everyone that writes code all day long. The sudden feeling of, I'd rather do anything else than this right now. Even though writing software is one of your favorite activities in the world. And I can totally relate to that. I'm sure several of you in here can as well. And, I mean, this fits Henry to a T. I mean, that guy's 100% burned out. But not to worry, we can help Henry. So I think the best way to help Henry is to take a look at not just the symptoms that we're seeing in him, but the journey that took him where he is. We need to understand both the destination of burning out as well as the journey, the path to get there. So we already know a little bit about the destination. We talked about how Henry looked and everything. So I want to start with the journey there. And the thing to keep in mind when you're looking at someone's journey is that you really have to look at it through their individual eyes, because everyone's situation is different. What bothers some people doesn't bother others. So usually this journey begins when someone thinks that they, or feels that they have little to no control over the impossibility of what's being asked of them. These things may be impossible, or they may just appear to be to the person that's facing them. So like if you work in an agile style, like many of us do, you're going to be at a daily stand-up each and every day. And it's at this stand-up that you can kind of train your ears to listen hard enough to hear the beginnings of what I call impossibility talk. You want to keep your eyes open for your fellow devs that are constantly complaining about being under, too much pressure or a lot of stress, or they're given a task that comes with a lot of baggage from the product owner. Usually these tasks that people run into when they start to feel this way are ones that have a large monetary value associated with them. So if we don't get this user story done, the company's not going to make money, or this merger is going to fall through, or whatever. Like it's just really high stakes. So then also another thing to keep an eye out for is people that refuse help. So that guy in the stand-up that says, I'm having this problem, but it's okay. I'm going to work through it. I don't need any help. I can do it. When someone feels like it's all on their shoulders and they can't turn to anyone for help, I mean, that's also one of the things that kind of sends someone down this journey. So in Henry's case, we found out that Acme Sites and another company were working together to win the business of a mutual client. And if they can't put together a proof of concept by the end of next month, the deal would have no chance of going through. And the company would stand to lose more money than Henry makes in probably 2 years. So it just so happens that part of that proof of concept was an integration that Henry was working on. Only Henry knows the technology for that integration. And unfortunately, he's run into a blocker. And he's spinning his wheels. And he just can't figure it out. But he feels like, since he's the only one in the company that knows the technology, he can't ask for help. So then, to kind of understand how Henry got where he is now, we'll take a look at some more of the symptoms that someone exhibits when they're either well on their way to burning out or they're already there. So a burned out dev is going to be fatigued. They may not fall asleep at the desk or anything crazy like that, but they may be kind of sluggish, more so than usual. They might complain of severe headaches that leave them like unstable or debilitated to the point where they've got to take the rest of the day off and go sleep. They may complain of migraines, things like that. A dev that's burning out will oftentimes have a feeling of being ineffective with their work, maybe accomplishing very little each day, eventually reaching a point where their overall attitude is one of indifference, like Ron White here. I don't care, take it down. He just doesn't care at that point. Also, cases of insomnia or excessive oversleeping can also pop up during burnout phases. I say phases because this burnout can last, a day, a week, a month. Just depends on the situation. So, just really got to keep your eyes open. So, you're Henry and you're burned out. Now what? What do you do? So what's helped me in the past is, I just put a flag in the ground and move forward. So Henry, he needed some help as soon as possible, ASAP. And so I reached out to Henry and I said, hey man, let's go for coffee or a beer or something like that. He didn't really want to go. He was like the tortoise in the cartoon, like, I don't have time to come, hang out with the friends. But I finally convinced him, let's go, have a cup of coffee. So we went and sat down and I told him, I said, look, man, we got to put the flag in the ground and move forward. And we're going to work on this together. We're going to get you out of this. I let him know, that his friends had reached out to me, that they were concerned about him, and that, I told him, I said, we can put together a plan so you can start feeling like yourself again. So the first thing to do if you're burning out is to stop working so much, right? And that'll be different based on the situation. So if you're really burned out, you may need to take a day off, several days off, a week off, whatever. Just depends on how bad a shape you're in. So if you're going to need to be out for a long period of time, then that initial discussion that you have with someone who's burning out is going to need to include who's going to pick up the slack while you're gone. How can you hand it off? Even if they feel like they can't hand it off, you just have to kind of help them facilitate that handoff, right? But luckily for Henry, he wasn't so far gone that he needed to be gone for 2 weeks. I mean, he just needed to change his approach to life. And while that sounds kind of complicated, it's really not. So, if burnout is the state of wanting to do anything but software development, then vitality is the polar opposite of that. It is the state of being strong and active, able to do not only the job at hand, but to do life in a happy way. So just as I walked Henry through techniques to leave so behind and pursue dev, I'm going to share with you some techniques so you can prioritize your health, so you can work smarter, not harder, so you can spend the time with those you care about most, doing the things you care about most. I mean, you hear jokes all the time about code monkeys and whatnot, but we're not code monkeys in here. We're human beings first and foremost. So let's talk about balance, right? So Henry had very little balance in his life when we went to that coffee house. Balance means different things to different people, but I like to think of balance not just as like a seesaw of work versus life, but of like a three-legged stool, where each leg needs to be the same height so that we can sit on top of it without falling over. So while I was talking to Henry, I tried to map this out for him. That one of the stool legs represents yourself. The second represents the people and things that are most important to you in life. And then the third leg is work or whatever you do to earn income and support the other two legs. So the number one leg is the one representing yourself. We start here just like on an airplane when they ask you to make sure you put the oxygen mask on yourself before you try to help others. When we're in this situation of burnout, you need to focus on yourself first. So one way you can do that is to change your eating habits. So just like with computers, garbage in, garbage out. If you're eating junk food and stuff all the time, if you've eaten pizza every day for the last 5 days because you were too busy at work to take time and go fix something better or pick something up that's better for you, you're going to get garbage results out. You're not going to be full of energy and able to get the things done that you need to get done. And that's exactly what was going on with Henry. I mean, he admitted to me he'd been eating a ton of pizza because he didn't want to leave his computer. He just had to figure that problem out so he could get that proof of concept done, and he wasn't going to leave his computer until it happened. And then, you'll see, in addition to poor eating habits, you'll see poor personal hygiene habits. People they're not showering, or they're not wearing deodorant, whatever, but they feel like they don't have time to do these daily necessities because they're so focused on, I've got to solve the problem, or I've got to make this work, or whatever. But I'm not saying you got to be like a health nut, but you got to bring some kind of balance to your diet so that your body can have that consistent fuel so it can work as it's meant to be. So moving kind of up from the body and the food and everything, move into the brain. So in addition to, if you're taking care of your body and all those things, then the next is to take care of your mind. I mean, sometimes your mind needs more to think about than just work or just existing, right? So this is where, like I suggest, adopting some personal development habits. Read some books. Do something to kind of expand your mind. If you're a religious person, make sure that you're going to church and expanding your spiritual self, because all those things together will help you perform the way you need to perform. So, like I said, when I was talking to Henry, his first leg in the stool was almost non-existent. By the time we talked to him, he was not taking care of himself at all. Another byproduct of that was he wasn't getting to spend time with the people and things that are important in his life. So those two legs were just completely down, and work was completely up, and he was just basically falling over, and that's how he wound up burned out. So to kind of get the second leg in line, after you get the first leg in line, you're taking care of yourself. To get that second leg in line, you need to determine what's an appropriate amount of time that you can devote to those people around you that you love and that bring joy to you, and then you're going to balance that with how much time that you have to spend at work, right? And not everybody has the flexibility at work to kind of pick and choose when they go to work or how long they work or anything like that. So you just have to kind of evaluate yourself where you're at, how you can set a schedule in place that provides the boundaries you need to keep work where work is and allow you to focus on yourself and the people and things that are most important to you. So the goal here is to find the sweet spot in the middle where all three legs are the same height, and you feel like you're operating at the top of your game. So Henry was pretty excited when we laid out the plan together so he could take back control of his life, but that seemed a little bit too simple to Henry. He was like, really? Is this all there is to it? And I said, no, that's not all there is to it. Next, you got to get yourself organized, right? I mean, you now have kind of a schedule of how much time you're going to spend on yourself, the people and things that bring joy to you, and work. So now let's work on organization so you can be more productive, right? So when you feel like you don't have control of your life, or you feel like someone else dictates your life for you, 9 times out of 10, it's because you're not organized. Trust me when I say that organization is not my middle name, but I know enough to realize that when I have at least some organization in my life, it brings a sense of calmness to me, as well as I feel way more productive. So I think we could probably have an entire session on organization, how to achieve it, how to use today's tools to manage it, things like that, but we're going to kind of go light on that today. So one thing to ask yourself, is how do you organize best? What organization works best for you? Are you an analog person? Do you like, a spiral notebook where you can write things down? Do you carry like a physical calendar around with you? Or are you, more of a digital person where you're acting as like the product owner and scrum master of your life, using Trello boards or backlogs or automated reminders, things like that. So it doesn't really matter which one works for you. Just pick it and use it, or blend it even. But the important thing is to do it. So, process. Do it requires the process. So the organization will stem from repeatable processes that you can put in place. Eventually, if you can achieve a process for each of the 3 stool legs, then you will find the true balance you're looking for. But let's not overwhelm ourselves all at once. So just start with one. And usually work is the easiest one to start with, because you have a finite set of tasks to do and a finite amount of time to do it in. So I'd read this blog article written by this guy, Ben Robertson, who works at Media Current. And he talked about this concept of a shutdown ritual. And the shutdown ritual really resonated with me. So a shutdown ritual is a set of routine of actions that you perform at the end of each workday to finalize your day and signify that your workday is done. Now, for those who work in an office, maybe you already have one because you leave every day. Those of you who work remotely, it may be a little more difficult, may be a little more challenging. You may not have one yet. But I love the concept because I think it pushes you to perform certain actions at the end of the day, so that you can set yourself up to plan the next day, schedule it, and be ready to execute it, so that you're intentional about what you're doing each day. It's the intentionality that's going to help you be or feel more productive, because you're like marking those things off that you set up to do. Ben Robertson, he goes on to say that this shutdown ritual becomes an anchor for other habits. And I couldn't agree more with that. So I shared this article with Henry, and together we developed that shutdown ritual for him, something he could implement immediately to help him manage the workload and leave work on time every day. Like I said, don't overwhelm yourself. Henry's small step of implementing that shutdown ritual was the first step to building up his productivity. He didn't go crazy and try to schedule, every hour of every day. He just started with that one little tweak of the sail, and it put him right back on course where he needed to be. And, making these changes in your life isn't meant to replace one stressful situation with another, meaning don't replace the stressful situation of work with stressing out about how to organize everything, and oh my God, I didn't do my shutdown ritual yesterday, just all this stuff. So you just have to kind of start small and then build up the productivity and the organization as time goes on. Okay, so enough about Henry and his journey to and from being burned out. Henry's fine. He's no longer burned out. He got there, got the help he needed. But I wanted to take a little bit of time and talk about me personally and how I've taken kind of what I've gone over here, how I've learned from it, and how I've applied it to my life, and how I try to be a little bit more like that Hare that we saw in the video at the beginning of the session. So my second leg, the people and fun leg, is centered primarily around my family. I mean, y'all might as well call me Clark Griswald. You know, I'm that kind of a guy. I married this amazing woman, and we have 4 kids. I work remotely from home. My wife stays home, and she homeschools our 4 children. So, you know, I say she homeschools them, but really only 3 of them are of school age, so whatever. But she has to take care of the 4th one anyway. So, but earlier this year, my father-in-law, he was out for a walk, and he fell and suffered a traumatic brain injury. And he was in the hospital for like 4 months straight. And now he's home, thankfully, but he's wheelchair bound. And my wife and I are providing 24-hour care for him. So, you know, I'm juggling work, I'm juggling the family, I'm juggling helping my father-in-law, and I'm also attending classes as well. So, you know, I got a lot going on. So I have to be super diligent about being organized, taking breaks when I need to take breaks, and being intentional with the things that I do. So one technique I haven't really discussed here that's really helped me over the years is the Pomodoro technique. So I don't know how many of you are familiar with that, but basically you just get a timer, you get everything together you need to complete a task, you set the timer for 25 minutes, let it go, you sprint fast to try to finish that up. Within the 25 minutes, when the timer goes off, whether you're done or not, you walk away. And you take what they call a short break. So get up, get away from your computer, do something else. Go, you know, get something to drink, you know, use the restroom, whatever, but just get away. Then you come back and you repeat the process. You do it again, 25 minutes. You try to do that 4 times in a row. When you finish the 4th 25-minute set, then you take what they call a long break, so it's 15 minutes. And so you kind of, to judge your productivity over the day, you can see like how many Pomodoros did I finish today or whatever. And like personally, I've integrated that not just with my work tasks, but also with personal tasks and stuff too. So like I have something I need to get done at the house, I'm going to set it for 25 minutes, go do it, and then take a break, you know. And I may like cycle through the 3 legs of stuff to do throughout the day. So I may do a work one and then take a break, and then do a family and fun thing, and then take a break, and then I may do something for myself and then take a break and then start it over again. So you are context switching a lot, but you're like keeping your mind fresh and you're keeping yourself moving on to new things throughout the day, so that at the end of the day you don't feel like, gosh, all I did was stare at the screen and type on this keyboard all day. I'm exhausted and I didn't have time to do anything else for anybody else. So my wife used to joke with people that I would take my coffee breaks and help her change diapers. So, but anyways, the biggest overall theme here is to just try to establish some balance in your life. Be intentional with your work, and aim to be a dev, not a so. So dare to experience that vitality. So finished that a little sooner than I thought, but I wanted to leave some time for questions, to talk about people maybe you've known that have burned out, maybe any experiences that you've had where you've burned out, what you did to pull yourself out of it. Anybody want to share?
Curious how many people here work from home. You, me,
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Because you want to talk about a routine to end your day.
Yes.
It's so important when you're working from home.
Right.
Because the office is right
The
there.
office is always there. Yeah.
Always there. I mean, sometimes people are working in their bedroom, right? They've got their bed,
Right.
and there's a desk.
Yeah. No.
And just like, you know,
Yeah.
so for me, actually, a big help was about a year ago. I went out and started working in cafes just to get out of the house.
There you go. Yeah.
And then I got a co-working space.
Right.
And hey, you know what? My plan says I can come in as early as 9, and I
Right.
have to leave at 5. And that's actually a big
A good thing. Yeah,
I
the
don't have
boundary is
24-hour
there.
access.
Yeah, that is good. Yeah. I will often ride in the car with my wife while she runs errands, and I'll work from the passenger seat. just to like get out of the house and just to work in different environments, right? I mean, it just kind of breaks it up. But yeah, I mean, to end the day, to have a hard end of the day is super important when you work from home.
Do you have a hard start of the day also? Like
A hard start of the day. Usually, I start my day at 6 o'clock in the morning. So I will work from 6 until 8:20, and then at 8:30 we have a stand-up at my company. I'll do that real quick, and then I drive my daughters take a Spanish lesson in the morning about 9, so I take them to that. But yeah, so I start really early, and then in the middle of the day, I'm not so much working. Like, okay, let's be honest, we all have Slack, we all have Teams or whatever, some kind of IM device that you can have on your mobile. If somebody from my team needs me or needs to chat with me, then I'm right there chatting with them. But in the middle of the day, I'm doing other stuff, and then I'll work later in the day. But then I have a hard end at like 10 or 11 o'clock at night. So my day is broken up throughout the day. Not everybody has that flexibility, but that's just kind of how I chunk mine up.
When I started working from home, we also homeschool 3 kids.
Right.
When I started working from home, my routine was after breakfast, I would get up, I would say goodbye, I would go out the front door, take a walk, and then I would come in the back. Of course, they know I'm there.
Right.
I would come in the back door and go to my office and work.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the day, I would go back out the back door, take a walk, come in the front door, and I'm home. Of course, they see me. I got to go to the bathroom. I got to get a cup of coffee. I have lunch with them, whatever. Right. But when I'm in the office, when I've left for work,
right,
they don't bother. They don't interrupt.
Yeah.
There's
they know you're in your office, right?
And for me, there was that sanity of being able to say, okay, that I'm going to let them take care of things. Whatever that screaming is,
I'm not worried about
on fire.
Right?
I can work.
Yeah.
And then also when I would come home, like if I would get a phone call, I had with the environment that I was in. If I got a call on my phone after 5, I just didn't take it. Put it down.
Yeah.
Probably nobody's on fire there either.
Right.
Right.
If they are, call again.
Yeah, that's right.
One time the screaming in my house was because there was a snake in the house.
Oh.
So I had to go downstairs.
Gotta go shoot.
Oh, yeah.
But,
there are those exceptions, yeah. I had my office in the garage for a while. I had like this, there was this built-in workbench, and so I set it up out there, and similarly, like Dad's leaving, he's going through the door, but then there's always it's like you open the door and there's all my monitors, right? And so like the door's closed and I'm standing there, and we had like a doggy door for that door too. And so like I'm on like a Zoom call or something, video, all of a sudden I'm looking behind me, here comes like, I think she was 2 at the time, and nothing but a diaper right through the doggy door,
So you've seen the guy on CNN, right? Doing the Korea, talk about the Korean situation, and then this door comes barking.
Yeah. See you guys in the office, you're missing out on all of this. You have your own challenges, I know, but anyways, that's good. Good deal. Any other questions or?
I was gonna say one kind of interesting thing for like the way you titled the talk about the tortoise and the hare, because like the principle that it's supposed to teach is like if you have consistent action, you will get results over time.
Yeah.
Whereas inconsistent action is one reason a lot of people don't get results.
Right.
So like that's the usual message of it.
Right.
But yeah, like this is a very interesting point that also, and it's true, like this is kind of like a new understanding coming out in productivity is consistency does not mean constantly, right?
Right.
That says like if you have variety, you can have like high productivity in these different areas because each one kind of feeds energy to the other one.
Exactly. And I don't know about you guys, but I have absolutely had times where like I've run into an issue and I'm beating my head against the wall, and I've spent 6 hours in a row trying to solve this problem, and then I walk away because I'm done, right? And I walk away and go do something else, and then I come back to it like 5 minutes. I've got the answer, right? Because you allowed yourself to kind of decompress from it, step back from it, and then you come back with fresh eyes. All of a sudden you see something you didn't see before.
It's funny you mentioned that. I remember reading an article once, and this has to do with some of the brain science, but there is a part of the brain that I still just learned this from entrepreneurship class years ago.
Yeah.
The guy's like, when your idea is still a light bulb stuck in a vacuum cleaner.
There you go.
But what he was referring to is that there is a part of the brain that will just like take all these random elements from your experiences, like constantly bashing them together.
Right.
And every once in a while, when something coherent comes out, that's when you have, like the eureka.
The light bulb moment. Yeah.
But the thing is that the only way you can do that, though, is you have to have the variety to begin with for that system to work.
Right.
And that's one of kind of like the explanatory reasons why you get stuck.
Yeah.
Oh, and that's why you get ideas in the shower.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or wherever, right? Yeah.
Awesome.
Or why they always say sleep on it.
Yeah. Go home and sleep on it. Yeah.
Because you're like, I know that feeling. It's like sometimes, like if you're like in the zone, as they call it, and it's like everything makes sense, and you can like do as much in 1 hour as it would normally take you all day.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's definitely one of the benefits I find with going with the Pomodoro technique is like, I'll accomplish a lot in that 25 minutes that maybe would have taken me 2 or 3 hours if I just sat down and, kind of trudged through it. So by just saying, I'm not going to let anything distract me for the next 25 minutes, but I'm just going to focus solely on that, really makes a difference for me as far as my productivity goes.
When I started that Pomodoro, I don't use it anymore, but it helped me a lot. But I had to start with something less than 25.
Did you? Yeah.
10. Just
Yeah.
10.
Right.
Right.
I got you.
Just to prove to myself that I can do that. Right.
Yeah. And then you built it out.
Build it up.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And yeah, you may need to start smaller or you may need to start bigger. I mean, you may feel like, I just
Can't dare
can't,
to walk away.
I can't leave it at 25 minutes. It's too undone, or you're in that groove, right? And you just want to keep going, and you're free to do that. But I think it's just the structure that you put in place and the intentionality that you give it. I think really makes the difference. So. All right. With that, I guess we'll just wrap up a little bit early. But thank you all for coming and sharing, and appreciate it. All right. Thanks a lot.